Jesus and Election Day. What light is shining?
Welcome to the Hippie Preacher Podcast. This is an audio blog bonus episode.
Today is Election Day here in Texas, but this post isn't about an earthly election. There are plenty of debates out there about that kind of election. But what about the elect Jesus talked about? Matthew 24:24. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. In English, we can miss the connection, but the same Greek word for the elect is used in verses like this, where it's translated as chosen. Matthew 22:14. For many are called, but few are chosen. After that statement in Matthew 22, the Pharisees were planning how to trap Jesus. They sent both some of their disciples and members of a group called the Herodians. The trick question they tried was about paying taxes to Caesar, to which Jesus asked for a coin in response. Whose image is on this coin? Caesar. Then give Caesar what is his, and God what is God's. I talk in more detail about this coin encounter in the podcast episode, Where Does Fear Come From? Jesus was clearly defining the difference between an earthly kingdom and the kingdom of heaven he came to reveal. While Rome at this time was not a democracy with public elections, there were still political groups. The Herodians were likely Jewish supporters of Herod Antipas, who not only had John the Baptist executed, but was in general a pretty bad guy. It's at least interesting, if not alarming, that the religious right of the day, the Pharisees, partnered with the Herodians against a shared enemy, Jesus, a group supporting a government that contradicted most everything they said they stood for and held them captive. They elected to align with an earthly government because they saw Jesus as a threat to their religious beliefs and power. But they weren't the first or the last to look to man's government to enforce their misguided understanding of God's kingdom. And after Constantine in the 4th century, the state as the church's partner has been violently repeated in many forms over and over. Back to the elect Jesus mentioned. He said there would be many false messiahs and false prophets whose deception would be so diabolical that it almost works even on the elect. So who are the elect? And how can you tell what is false? Jesus continues in Matthew 24 and 25 with a series of parables and statements defining who those elect really are. A quick summary. Those who are found faithfully doing what they are supposed to do when Jesus returns. And what is a Jesus follower supposed to be doing? Well, all of Matthew 5 for one thing. I'm not a politician or part of any political movement. First and foremost, I'm a Jesus follower, period. Following Jesus means following his example and commands. He said that we were to be like a light shining on a hill. Being that light isn't just being right on the big issues. The standard is much higher than that. Matthew 5:14-16. You are the light of the world. A city located on a hill cannot be hidden. People do not light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before people so that they can see your good deeds and give honor to your Father in heaven. What is the evidence that our light is shining? People giving honor to our Father in heaven. Is our light really shining that way? Do people in our culture see the deeds of Christians and give honor to God? Or do they see us partnering with the Herodians trying to prove we are right? Just ask a few non-believers. While I'm not saying there should be moral compromise on the things we believe, on the other hand, there can be no compromise on the seemingly smaller issues either. It's not our job to try and get bragged on by outsiders through compromise. You simply can't do the right thing the wrong way. Many people right now are afraid and hurting, but see the church as a threat and elections as a war zone. Yet following Jesus isn't a popularity contest. He said we would be hated, opposed, persecuted, and reviled. The question is, for what? If fighting for right becomes more important than doing right in all things, we aren't shining the light of Jesus. Does our right stance also reflect points from 1 Peter 3:8-17? Harmony, unity, and love for one another, sympathy and compassion for all of our neighbors, humility, zero tolerance for returning evil for evil or insult for insult. The sad thing is, many non-believers I talk with actually know the Bible better than many professing Christians. They know the character traits that a Jesus follower is commanded to follow. Jesus' commands are not suggestions. They are life. I'm okay with being mocked and misunderstood. It's clear that Jesus followers shouldn't expect anything less. Yet our standard as the elect is higher than the law, higher than absolute right and wrong. Our standard is love. Without it, Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians 13 that we are nothing. He lists miraculous and wonderfully good things that are inherently good, but without love are nothing but noise, nothingness, and without benefit. You can be exactly and factually right and still be wrong without love. You can vote for all the right candidates or propositions and still be wrong without love. We can't expect everyone to understand or agree with what we believe. We should expect opposition and adversity. But let us be castigated and mocked for our love, not for our gloating, pride, and arrogance. And let us not become partners with Herod or Caesar as if they will rescue us from evil. Let us be mocked for being too patient, too kind, lacking any and all envy, unwilling to brag or be arrogant, never rude or self-serving, keeping no checklist of being wronged, not easily angered or resentful, not glad about injustice to anyone, but rejoicing only in truth, bearing all things, believing all things, hoping all things. Until we are that right, we are wrong, no matter what law gets passed or overturned or what candidate is elected. Until we are that right, people won't see us and give glory to the Father. Without that kind of love, we are not the elect. They may call us hypocrites. They may hate and revile us. But if so, it shouldn't be for our politics or our hate, but for our self-sacrificing love. We don't need the Herodians to help trap our enemies. Jesus said to love our enemies instead, our neighbors too. Who isn't in one of those categories? So no matter who you vote for or don't vote for today or in any election, a Jesus follower's allegiance is to a kingdom not of this world, a kingdom of the elect where the way is narrow and few find it. How do you know who the elect are? By their words and actions, who they align with, and by who gets the glory for anything good that they may do. Jesus followers are to live like the elect on this election day and every other day. The world and the Father are watching. What light is shining from your life?
Make peace.